Pillars of modern warfare, such as paired units and predictable archers, have no place in
Fodlan. Or so we thought. Ah, shit. Here we go again. So another day, another huge news article dropping on Fire Emblem 16, and this is part 1 of a 2-part article, meaning that there is more information to come. Man, I was gonna wake up and do some Let's Plays today, but apparently I will not have time for that. Sorry guys, Fire Emblem 16 just takes priority. So this is a huge one, absolutely a whole heap of information. We got more information about the villains, we got some information about the game's story, and we have gotten confirmed that Dual Strikes and Pair-Ups will be back. I am not very excited about this. These are mechanics I do not like. I'm gonna try not to be too negative about it in this video. I might make another video explaining why I dislike these features. But for now, let's jump into it. Let's take a look at the descriptions that have been revealed for the Reaper Knight and the Flame Emperor. So, originally I thought these might be enemy classes, but it turns out they are indeed characters, at least according to their descriptions. The Reaper Knight reads, "In the streets of Garreg-Mach, there are rumors of a knight spiriting people away at nights. But the dreaded knight, who's supposedly just a rumor, suddenly appears before the protagonists. Their appearance evokes an ominous presence, as if they're not of this world." So, it does seem that either this will be some sort of enemy, or it could also be an enemy class type. Maybe we run into one of them originally, and then they show up later in the game as enemy classes. Again, I'm getting Revelation vibes from this. Enemy units not of this world that suddenly appears out of nowhere. Seems very Vala to me. I'm gonna try not to make that connection, but it's kind of hard not to. Then we have a description for the Flame Emperor, which reads, "A mysterious figure who acts behind the scenes around the monastery. They hide their body with a mask and cape, and their true identity is a complete mystery. The thieves who attacked the students from the Officers' Academy at the very beginning seems to be working under the orders of this Flame Emperor." I mean, come on guys, we all know this is Arvis, right? He's just wearing a mask. So next up we got some information that sort of confuses me a little bit. I'm just gonna read it out because I have some issues deciphering what this really means. It says, "The protagonist is a teacher at the Officers' Academy and will decide which of the 3 houses to lead during the early stages of the game. Although the incidents that occur at the end of each season are the same, the events before and after are different depending on the house. Often the story is shown from a unique viewpoint that other houses may not see." So, it seems to me like the story, the overarching story may be similar, depending on what path you pick. However, there's going to be unique events that are only exclusive to each individual house. There's going to be unique viewpoints of the story, but it does seem like the story will still be relatively the same regardless of which house you pick. I'm not entirely sure if I'm deciphering this correctly. Maybe someone in the comment section can help me out here. But I'm not really sure what to make of it. It sure seems to me like there's going to be differences in the story, but like the core overarching plot will be the same. But I might be wrong. So let's talk a little bit about the story of the game. And it seems like we will be leading a rebellion against the Church of Syros. Again, this was something we sort of already suspected. We got it spoiled by a commercial tweets that said that, you know, join the 3 houses to take on down the Church of Syros. So it seems like regardless of what house we will be joining, we will be rebelling against the church in some manner. And it's being led by a guy called Sir Lonato. So Sir Lonato is the ruler of Gaspard Castle, and he is raising an army against the church.
Build an army, trust nobody, Fire Emblem.
So it very much seems like the church will be the bad guy regardless of what house you pick. Now Sir Lonato is actually the adoptive father of the character Ash, who we don't know anything about at the time of making this video. But what's kind of interesting here is that Ash states in the scene that he has no idea that his father is rebelling, and claims that he was not told, probably to protect him from the rebellion. Now, just as I was busy editing this video, we just got another profile release from Ash, so I'm just going to edit this in post-production. So yeah, we got a clip of him, as well as some information, as well as some full character art. So this reads, "Today's featured Fire Emblem Treehouse's character is Ash of the Blue Lion's House. Born a commoner, he was adopted by Lord Ronato, head of the Casper territory in the Holy Kingdom. As such, Ash has a great amount of respect for Lord Ronato, and he studies and trains hard so that he can live up to his adopted father." He's voiced by Yuki Inoue. And here is his clip.
僕みたいな平民が士官学校に入学できたのは養父のロナート様のおかげなんです。厳しくも優しい騎士の鏡のような人で、僕もあんな大人になれたらと思っています。
Now, what he said hasn't been translated yet, but I figured since this literally dropped while I was editing, I should shoehorn it in there. So let's continue with the video. So based on the calendar that we've been shown, it seems like the game itself will start on the 4th month, and the retaking of Gaspard Castle apparently happens on the 6th month. Now we know that there's 1 month in between each chapter, so we can assume that the rebellion will start in chapter 4, and it seems like at the end of the 6th month we will be retaking Gaspard Castle. I may be wrong about this, but that's how it seems to me at the moment. Next up, let's talk about supports, bonds, and dual strikes. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the power of bonds. So classic supports from the GBA game seems to be back. Now, ever since the first trailer, we've seen these little arrows appearing above your units, both your own and the enemies, and we've been very puzzled as to what those arrows might mean. Well, they are actually just more logical representations of the old support systems that we know and love. Now, in the GBA games, units that supported each other would get bonuses as long as they stayed within 3 squares of each other. And this is the same for tree houses. Whenever units fight near each other and they stay next to each other, they build support points, which will eventually lead to a support conversation. And when they're within 3 spaces of each other, you see these little arrows appear above the units to indicate that they are supporting each other. They are granting hit to you and also debuffing the enemy's hit. So they are making you more likely to hit and the enemy more likely to miss you. It seems that there can be a lot of these arrows active at the same time, so I'm not sure if the supports will have the same limitations as the GBA had, but it seems like you can get supported by a hell of a lot of units, and we also see that the enemies have these supports as well. Right here, in the first clip where Edelgard is facing off against Mercedes, in the very first trailer, you can see that Mercedes is being supported by a lot of the enemy units. This is probably just a training battle, or at least I think, and it might mean that there actually will be some in-house fighting, but enemies might have supports that are frequently used against you, so that's kind of interesting to see. It also very much seems that whenever your support increases, you will get this little heart, similar to in Awakening and Fates, is showing you that you are building supports with the units. This support also affects gambits, and we have indeed seen footage of this shown in earlier trailers. So whenever you're doing a gambit, units that you are supported with will join in the gambit. So here we see a screenshot of Hubert using group magic fire on an enemy, and you can see that his support partners will join in the gambit. And in this case, this will improve the might and hit rate of the gambits. So we've already seen this multiple times. This seems to be how group gambits will work. So next up, let's talk about Pair Up, Dual Strike and Dual Guard, except in this game it's called something else. It's called Assistant Supports. So in this game, you can assign a unit to be the assistants of a unit. This is essentially the good old Pair Up that we all know and love. Well, that some of us know and love and others despise. So how many units can be assigned as an assistant depends upon your instructor level. So as your instructor level goes up, you can assign more units to be assistants. And assigning a unit to become an assistant will have 3 effects, called assistant support effects. You have the assistant follow-up, which reads, at the end of the fight, the assistant may perform a follow-up attack. So this very much seems to be the dual strike mechanic from Awakening. Not sure if it's going to have reduced might like it did in Fates. Then you have the Assistant Guard. The assistant may protect the user from an enemy follow-up attack, reducing their damage. Now this is very interesting. For first of all, the wording of this reveals a lot about the mechanic. It says, may protect the user from an enemy follow-up attack. Now in Fates you had these little shield gauges that would fill up gradually, meaning that it was very predictable. You could sort of like calculate when the dual strike would actually, or when the dual guard would happen. But here it says may protect the user from an enemy follow-up attack. We haven't seen any indication that there's going to be a dual guard, meaning that I think we're getting the Awakening chance-based guard system, which I actually despise. I think it's way too RNG to rely on, but that very much seems to be how it's going to work. The other very interesting aspect about the wording of this is it says reducing their damage. It doesn't say completely blocks their damage, which may indicate that whenever this dual guard occurs, maybe it just halves damage, maybe it just reduced damage by a specific amount depending on the units. This is very interesting actually. It's just not going to be a complete block. It seems like it's just going to reduce the damage taken, which I actually like, because that means you don't, like, it becomes a lot less relevant. And then the third effect that you get from pairing units up is the Assistant Recovery. At the start of each turn, the assistants may cast a heal spell on the user. This seems broken as hell. Whenever you pair units up, they're gonna heal each other. So, again, this seems like a really broken really overpowered version of the old pair-up mechanic from Awakening. However, it's going to be limited by your instructor level. So it seems as Byleth levels up, the more pair-ups you can have. So no, when I first read this, I thought that you would only be able to pair students up with Byleth, but no, it very much seems like you can pair students up with each other. So here you see a screenshot of Lorenz being assisted by Hilda. This screenshot looks awful, by the way. What are you doing, Treehouses? So this confirms that it won't just be Byleth. You can pair up anyone, but again, you will be limited. Also, assistants earn experience, so it's a good way to level up weaker units while keeping them completely protected. So here we see a screenshot of Hilda leveling up while supporting Lorenz. And what's kind of funny here is that we see that she's leveling up the new stat called Charm. And we still don't know what the Charm stat does, but I personally think it's going to affect pair-ups. I think the more Charm you have, the more likely you are to perform a dual strike or a dual guard, or maybe you'll also heal more. We can see that Hilda apparently seems to have a lot of Charm. Next up, let's talk about map gimmicks, as it's called in this article. We now have confirmation that doors will be in the game. We see a screenshot of a door right here, and the door can be opened with a key or a user with a lock touch skill. We also have chests. This chest is placed outside, which is kind of funny. I always thought like chests outside looked still silly, but here they are. Hopefully they won't require 50 gold to be unlocked. And then we also see that drawbridges will be in the game. They're a mechanic that appeared in Fire Emblem 4. Usually they needed to be opened by a thief. It says in the description here that once it's lowered, infantry can cross to the other side, indicating that cavalry might not be able to cross drawbridges, which is a funny way to limit them, I guess. Next up, we have confirmation that item drops are indeed back into the game. In this screenshot, we see an enemy thief that is dropping an item. You can see the fact that it's glowing green, just like in the old Fire Emblem games. We can also see that his stats is being affected, possibly by an enemy battalion. He has lowered might but increased defense. We don't really know why yet. Could be some skills that are affecting him, or maybe some nearby enemies, but most likely, as I said, it's most likely a battalion. Next up, let's talk about some new classes. We finally have some descriptions of the Lord class, which is what Edelgard, Dimitri, and Claude will start out as. Now, it's kind of funny, it says here, a title given to those who stand above others, excels in swords and authority. They also have the class skill Charisma, which allows adjacent allies to deal 3 extra damage to enemies. Now, it says in the Lord class that they wield swords, lances, and authority, but Edelgard and Claude will still be able to wield their respective weapons. In this case, Edelgard wielding axes and Claude wielding bows. So even though the description of the Lord class says that they can't, they just can for some reason, so don't worry. Then we have some class reveal of the Thief, and here we see Petra being depicted as the Thief. I love how she still shows one leg. And Thieves apparently can use swords and bows, so it seems like we got a combination of the Adventure class from Fates and the old Thief that we all know and love. And they have the class skill Steal, so stealing is going to be back in the game. We can finally steal, and it says here that user can steal non-weapon items from foes with less speed, so it's gonna work just like it did in Fire Emblem 7 and 8. If you have more speed than your opponent, you can steal a non-weapon. So no Tellius-based stealing where you can just yoink someone's iron sword out of their inventory. It needs to be an item. I wonder how central this is going to be for the game. Again, I really want to see the return of stat boosters because I think stealing is really cool. And their class skill is called Lock Touch. User can open doors and chests without the need for keys. That's kind of cool. We won't really be needing to be moving around with a lockpick in our inventory. Next up, we have the Knight, and it says here the description is foot soldiers with brilliant defense. They are sturdy shields found on the front lines. Now, what's kind of interesting is that Knights doesn't seem to have any class skills, which kind of makes me worried. Are Knights just plain up gonna suck again? Like, why not give them a class skill? Come on. We can see here that they use lances, axes, and armor. And the Knight depicted here is Dudu, or Dudu, or Dudu. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. People just seem to get pissed whenever I do it. Next up, we have the Pegasus Knight. And their description reads, Knights who soar the skies astride Pegasi. They are resilient against magic, but weak against bows. After fighting, they can move again. So that's cool. So their class skill is Canto. Just like the Cavaliers, user can use leftover movement after performing an action. And they also have a second class skill, which just gives them plus 10 avoid, which is nice. I mean, that's gonna help them avoid tank a little bit more. And here is a huge reveal. Pegasus Knight is a female class only. So right now we know that the Brawler as well as the Dark Mage are exclusive male classes, and this is the first exclusively female class that is released. I think the other one is going to be some sort of bishop, but this means no more Sky Knights, no more male Pegasus Knights. Rip, we are back to Pegasus Knights being female exclusive. Next up is the Archer, and wowie. Archers are back, and they can wield swords, guys. And their description reads, fighters that excel at wielding bows. They have exceptional skill and good luck. Wow, 2 of the best stats in the game. Whoa, I can't wait to be an archer. And their class skill is called bow range +1. So that means that we will probably be seeing archers attacking from pretty far away. Either they get 2 to 3 range, or maybe their range will be even higher. There is also a comment here saying that there seems to be some sort of skills that Archer can learn to counter at close range. So it seems that we might get a return to the Echoes and guide an Archer that can attack from close range and attack from pretty far away. Depending on how they turn out, archers might actually be good. Lastly, we have the priests, and here we see Mercedes being depicted as one, and the description reads, those who battle with white magic, they can both attack and heal. So that's really cool. Their class skill is called Heal, enables the use of heal. If the user already learned heal, doubles the maximum amount of uses. Again, this is the same as we see with the mages, just allows you to heal without a heal staff apparently, and if you have one already, you get double the worth out of the heal staff. They also have a class skill called White Magic Recovery +5, which means that they heal +5. I think this is amazing. It just means that they'll be a lot better at healing than other classes, which is, you know, what they should be. So that is it for this article. There's going to be a part 2 releasing very soon, so expect that when it comes out, whenever it does come out. There's so much news dropping right now, guys. I can't believe how much information we're getting. I'm definitely very excited about this. So let me know what you think about these news in the comment section below. As always, when more news comes out, another video will come out. My name is Mengs, and I shall see you guys next time. Bye-bye.